Hello, 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 everyone, Polish PVFM listeners. We are on the show, which is the chance for your success. And I would like to introduce my guest, which is ACT, Absolute Czech Translation. Milada, could you please tell me about you? How are you?
I'm okay. Thank you for having me on your show. Well, I am Czech, but I live in England the last 27 years, so basically more than half of my life. And I obviously still go back to Czech Republic fairly often to visit family and friends. But whilst living in the UK, I'm raising my two kids, working here, translating away. That's about it, really.
So how it's happened? How it's happened you have arrived in the UK? What's the reason? Was that?
Yeah, I was one of them sort of in between people when the technology didn't quite get us young enough to make the most of it, when we were at the age when everyone was looking for universities or employment, because when I finished my secondary school in 1993, there was no mobile phones. PCs definitely were not matter of everyday household use. So finding any information was totally different. I would say these days the kids can lie on the sofa with their mobile phone and they Google the next uni course they want to study, or look through adverts through employment agencies. But my generation, I say generation, year 1975, we didn't have any of that. And I was sort of trying all sorts of different jobs. Maybe it was really changing between catering industry and the haulage, road haulage transport company, bakery, baking cakes. Then I went to Germany for a little while and ended up going back to study. But the language school I have chosen was not the best. And, with the hindsight, I have tried to learn various languages in my life. And what works for me definitely was not the style they were using teaching in that language school. So after 1 year being a student, I learned pretty much nothing, which was very frustrating. It cost me lots of time, lots of money. And I thought, no, hang on. I decided that English was the language I actually really wanted to learn properly. And at that time, I didn't have anything to hold me back at home, so I decided to go to work in the UK as an au pair for 1 year. And to my huge surprise, studying in here was very easy. There was no silly entrance exams. You didn't have that academic snobbery, oh, we shall see whether we will accept your application. It was like you want to study, you pay your fee and you study. Uh, and I found I was making really quick progresses. And then unfortunately, or I don't know, I met my husband and decided to stay. Um, but before I even came here, I always wanted to do translation work, except I thought my language combinations would be German, Czech, possibly English. Or and then what happened? Like you can't always plan everything in life. So somehow the German language went totally fall on the wayside, and I never really used it since then properly, even though in the past I put lots of energy into studying it, and it's still stored somewhere at the back of my mind. Like lots of people who have like passive knowledge of languages, but they are not really actively being used, which is a shame. But sometimes it's fun when I just meet new people and we have a chat and I recall a few words very quickly. Yeah, and I think it would be great if.
So Milada Cogginsova, you're Czech, right?
Yes.
Yes. How many languages you speaking?
Uh, speaking? Well, obviously Czech and English, and I understand Slovak, but I don't speak Slovak because I mean, I could make myself do it, but I'm sure I would be slipping back into Czech. I don't know. I never had the motivation to really speak it. They are very similar. We can understand each other. You know, written Slovak, spoken Slovak. But to me, it would feel so unnatural. It would be like if I was trying to maintain a heavy dialect. Let's say someone who is from south of England, if they were trying to speak with heavy Scottish accent, after a while they would not be able to keep it up, and it's just very
Horrible.
unnatural thing for me to do. But you know, I was very lucky. When I was at school, I had brilliant teachers, and funny enough, our first language that we started at the age of 10, so it was year 5, not before then, because I think that there was this intelligence in a school, which was not a bad thing. That thanks. We were first encouraged to understand the grammar of the Czech language properly. And when you see the patterns and the structures of the sentences, then building up using understanding that every language has some patterns as well, different, but you understand there is some links, how the sentences are composed, what are the keywords. And so when we started at, I don't know, the age of 11, for me, it was incredibly easy. So I must say, these days, I'm sort of confused why kids are encouraged at primary schools, like they barely can read and write, and they are expected to have French lessons. Why? I think that, I don't know, I think that kids get overwhelmed. I think that it's not necessary to put so much pressure on people when they are so young and expect them to remember so much. I mean, the expectations, what people should learn at schools, that's another big, massive topic. But you know, for a Czech person to learn Russian, the sound of it, and because they are both Slovak languages, I'm sure it's the same for Polish people. It was fairly easy. But then dealing with the alphabet, and you know, now when I see something written in a Russian, I go, oh my God, I should know this, but I just don't. You know, it was
You
a long
forget one.
time in school.
So
And
I've been
I mean,
asking.
how human memory retains information when it has motivation to remember something, it's one thing. But when you don't have the motivation to remember it, obviously it just goes. And I think that these days we can be so overwhelmed with input from everywhere, non-stop.
Of course, you have to Chinese yourself every time. But my question was, how many languages do you speak? Not translate. So how
Okay.
many languages do you
Well,
speak? So it's Czech, it's
just to
English,
just
it's
to
German, it's
um
Russian?
I wouldn't say that I speak them now. Honestly, even though I learned them and I used to be able to speak them very well, I just don't. And that's the thing, because I don't have opportunity to use them, or I don't look for the opportunities to use them. I mean, that was like a fork where my career took place. Yeah, I know people who I really admire who actually interpret simultaneously in several languages, and they do international conferences, and it's fantastic. But because I didn't choose that path, I didn't have the motivation to, you know, have the width
Keep
of the.
focus on the one language
And
and
I
do
didn't have
very, very well on that
that's
one in live translation, right?
absolutely. And I get plenty enough work. I mean, when I was saying to various people, yeah, I'm going to be a translator, and they go, what? Czech? Nobody needs Czech. And I don't know, you would be surprised. Actually, there is quite a lot of business importing, exporting, arts, culture. Obviously, these days,
Accountants, a lot of businesses.
absolutely, lots of TV shows or books or all sorts of cultural things get translated into Czech. Not that I do that much on this topic. I somehow ended up going more like business law that way. But you never know. I sometimes switch on the computer and who needs to read fiction? I just open the documents people send me.
Lovely. So, Milada, what you've got in your website, you're doing Czech, English, and Slovak translations.
Slovak,
But this
yes.
is translation, but not that's not live interpreting, right? Which is different.
Well, the way I work, and it works. I have been interpreting for Slovak people for years, and I warn my clients that I will be speaking, replying to them in Czech, but we understand each other, and thanks God now, common sense prevailed again, because since Czechoslovakia split up, at one point, all the Slovak people disappeared from Czech TV completely. Well, okay, we had some programs that were filmed during the socialist time, and in the 90s there was suddenly this massive boom of everything American and everything West. But over time, for example, if you have a dance show or any talent show or any award type of show, you will have one presenter presenting in Czech, another presenter presenting in Slovak. And that way, little kiddos, again, watching telly, and they just get it into their ears. And the sound of it is slightly different, but it is different. And I think it's great. And I can see how people who live in Sweden, when they switch on telly and they see films that were made in English, so they keep the original dialogues in English, but have Swedish subtitles. Of course, these kids are going to learn it like super fast. So
okay, so it's a big challenge for you. So currently, you will be interpreting live on this Detoxify and Get Healthy. This is event organized by Statera IKP Ltd in the London POSC on 15th of June this year. And you will be interpreting live from Czech to English and from English to Czech, and if necessary, maybe something else. And how is this challenge for you? Are you ready to go there and just speak in the public?
Well, I wouldn't say I am ready yet, because with these events, okay, so the way interpreters' brains work is long-term memory and short-term memory. And obviously, in my long-term memory, there is massive amount of terminology related to health, healthcare, alternative health, medication, lifestyle changes, you name it. And I think it's really important. I think that people need to take care of themselves actively and not leave it in the hands of the doctors. Because very sadly, when I was growing up, I remember people who were older than me, they felt like, oh, well, I can be totally reckless with my body, and then I rock up at the doctors and expect them to sort it out, just give me some pills. It doesn't work.
So yes, it doesn't work now. That's if you go to the doctor and they will give you some prescription, and that's maybe help you but little bit. It's very important to keep your lifestyle and some maybe personal focus on every single diet and a lot of things to keep healthy. And this event about detoxify your body. So it's to introduce people Dr. Josef Jonas, which is a naturopathy specialist. And he is the maybe Czech leader, but is increasing on other countries with his method of the restore immune system. Do you know this Dr. Jonas personally, or maybe you have
No,
heard about him? So if you have listened his videos, etc., what do you think about it? Is it important for people this event?
well, I mean, each to their own. Obviously, I think that people need to arrive to the point when they find this useful for them. Same as like somebody will make the decision, oh, I might go to see acupuncturist, or I might look up someone who does homeopathy. There are all these different styles of alternative medicine. And I would say yes. From what I saw on the website, how Dr. Jonas explains his work, it totally makes sense. It's totally common sense. And I hope that the event will be popular and successful, because really anyone spending their spare time to learn a bit more about their own health and possibly do something to maintain or even improve their health, it's always a good thing.
I think this important to that this therapy is not very expensive, but it's not very popular on the UK because it's quite first event like on this scale in the UK. So how about Czech and Slovak community? How is this community in the UK?
Well, there obviously is quite a big Czech community in the UK, but I tell you, I am in like a very strange situation. Sometimes I feel I'm like a Billy No Mate sitting here on my own in my office with my papers, and the only creatures I meet all day is the post lady when she brings the documents for me. Because even before the lockdown, lots of translators would tell you that working as a freelance translator can be very solitary work because, yeah, okay, interpreting is different. Interpreting, you dress up, jump in a car, and drive to some venue. It can be a court room, it can be business meeting, it can be factory setting where people learn, get company training about their, I don't know, manufacturing procedures, for example. But with translation work, that means translating documents. It just takes total focus, silence, no chattering away. When people tell me, why don't you take your laptop and go to a cafe? I say, are you crazy? I would never get any work done.
Milada,
I would
I've
just sit
been
there.
asking you not about translating. I've been asking you about Slovak and Czech community.
Slovakia, yeah, exactly. And that's what happens. I work for lots of Czech people and lots of Slovak people, but I hardly ever meet them face to face because lots of
Okay, so
work.
it's online job, right? Okay, so you don't have like a relationship to the community directly, right? Don't
Uh,
you?
there are few Czech and Slovak people about, but I don't really go out of my way to make strong connections because I, I I like all people, doesn't matter where they come from, and I believe in like having your local community, your local tribe in the village where you live. That's my style. And where people come or where people go, it doesn't actually matter. I don't have preferences over nationalities. Um, and you know, sometimes some of my clients bring me their documents in person, and then that's amazing. Like some of them had their parents and grandparents with the most incredible life stories. Honestly, you could not write it, because lots of them emigrated either because of the war or because of the Cold War and the communism, and the way they lived, and you know, they must have been very brave and intelligent to make the most of
So what's
stepping
the
out in the unknown.
is the mostly intelligent people from Czech and Slovak community? They make some immigration to England.
uh I mean, you know,
So with minimum
what is
master
in,
degree.
I don't think so, but to me, intelligence and master degree don't necessarily have to be linked together. somebody can have virtually no education, can barely read and write, and the way they make decisions, how they listen, how they actually absorb information, how they figure out what is important and what isn't important. That's like natural intelligence. That's not necessarily linked to academic education whatsoever.
Yeah, knowledge is different than behavior, right? But definitely the knowledge and education helps in your
Oh,
personal development, and for this reason is this event. And you can see that your training, or even you have been to school, so that makes some science, because it's not only certificate, it's something else. It's thinking about different thinking. So it's developing yourself. Yourself. This is knowledge and decision-making process. So it's not
lovely.
easy for the people sometimes without education. Of course, they can develop themselves, and sometimes the people doing very big one money in big one businesses without any education, or maybe like a high education. But mostly education helps, and it helps open the mind, open yourself, helps bring the knowledge and make a target of your potential next steps for your future, even if it's business or even if it's working. Come on.
I completely agree with what you are saying. Education is important, and also not just to absorb the knowledge, but I think also meet the other schoolmates, classmates, whether it's kids, whatever, primary school level, secondary school level, but the adult learning, that's one of the things I love about England, that they make it easy here. Like adult learning, there is no age limits. It's um very, it's inclusive, and you don't have to sign up to a very long 4-year course. I like how the local colleges have, let's say, 10-week courses, I don't know, in photography or whatever is uh, your interest, so people can just see and try, uh, and then, once you do it, well, it's not intimidating, it's not massive big commitment. So even if someone, let's say, has kids and mortgages and jobs and everyday grown up commitments, they can still fit a little bit of something to learn if they want to, and it's easy.
Supposed, yeah, should.
Yeah.
They should do something. Yeah, so that's now I'm talking for all listeners. Hello, Polish Voice FM listeners. We are happy to introduce you for this event on the London, organized by Statera IKP Ltd. It's 15th of June. This is place POSC, Polish Social Culture Association, 15th of June, and Milada. Absolute Czech translation will be interpreter, live interpreter on this event, helping, translating, and communicating from Czech to English and English to Czech. So Milada, so thank you very much for your enjoying.